Movie buffs, welcome back to the Movie Bay. This is D. In today's video, we're going to do 10 disaster movies. We're going to take a look at 10 disaster movies, some natural, some unnatural. We're going to dive in. But before we dive in, I got a question for y'all. I want y'all to answer in the comment section. Do you guys consider zombie movies disaster movies? I mean, I do. I didn't put none on this list because I didn't know how this would roll over with you guys. But I think zombie movies, they could be their own list. But I think zombie movies can be incorporated with disaster movies because let's face it, if we ever have a zombie type situation, that could be the end of mankind as we know it. So without further ado, let's dive in again in the comment section. Let me know if you think zombie movies could be incorporated with disaster movies. Or should they just be their own thing? Okay. I think they could be their own thing and they could be disaster movies. They could be both. Okay. Starting off with 1997's Dantes Peak, starring Pierce Brosnan and Linda Hamilton. It's about a little town called Dantes Peak that's got a serious volcano eruption. It's destroying the town. The fallout from the pyroclastic flow and all of that goodness that comes from a volcano is like really destroying the town, wreaking havoc. It's killing people. This is a great disaster movie. Fantastic watch. It don't get no love. Dantes Peak hardly ever come up on the list. Twister topped this every time. Not to take anything from Twister, but if you only saw Twister and you never saw Dantes Peak, you might want to check this one out. There's definitely some enjoyment here. Next up, we got 1996 Independence Day, and we got a good cast in this one, baby. We got Will Smith, Bill Pullman, Jeff Goldblum, Andy Quaid, Vivica Fox. This movie, Brett Spiner. This movie is an absolute banger. This is coming to you from Mr. Summer Blockbuster Man himself. Great disaster movie. Aliens land on Earth. And I mean, they are some nasty SOBs. They destroy the White House. They destroy major cities. But Will Smith saves the day. Him and Jeff Goldblum save the day. Independence Day is a classic alien invasion movie, disaster movie, whatever you want to call it. This is definitely a disaster because if something like that happened, that's it. Game over. Next up, we have 2009's 2012, starring John Cusack and Amanda Peet. This movie was, I'll be honest with you, this was more of a watch that my kids liked when they was younger. They liked this one. I watched it with them. You know, this was a family movie. We all watched this one together, and the family took more enjoyment from this than I did. I thought it was just okay. It really wasn't nothing special. You know, it was all right. And I'm a huge John Cusack fan. Next up, we have, let's see, we got 1996's Twister, the classic, the one that gets the love, baby. And this is Helen Hunt, Bill Paxton, Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's about basically storm chasers who find the big one, the big one. I mean, the big kahuna. You know, when you're looking for that big one, like Moby Dick, when, you know, hey, Ahab found Moby Dick and now they found this guy. So next we have 1998's Armageddon, all-star cast. You got Bruce Willis, Liv Tyler, I remember now, Ben Affleck, Steve Buscemi, Michael Clark Duncan, Owen Wilson, the cast, Billy Bob Thornton. The cast in this is insane. Great movie, great production value, all around fantastic film. Armageddon is probably, if you look at disaster movies from like, out of the three, I can't compare this to a lot of disaster movies because it's so different, but out of Deep Impact and the core in this is probably the best one. Not to say that the other ones aren't. They all really good in their own right, but if you want to pick one that probably stand out the most for different reasons, I think casting has a lot to do with how well a movie is received. And this got the best cast out of the three. I mean, you put Bruce Willis front and center at that time, you're going to get a response. So Armageddon, basically, you got Bruce Willis is playing Harry Stamper. He's a deep core driller. When they need to get it done, when everybody else say they can't get it done, he gets it done. NASA contacts him, gets him up there. They get trained. They take 2 space shuttles up to land on the asteroid and try to drill, drop nuclear ordnance, and get back. But it was a lot of setbacks and a very sad ending. Great movie. Next up, we have 2004's The Day After Tomorrow. starring, let's see here, The Day After Tomorrow. You got Dennis Quaid and Jake Gyllenhaal. This was all right. I took some enjoyment from this one. It was good. It was about basically like this deep freeze. I forget where it came from, but it was like this deep freeze that just was just basically freezing all over, but it wasn't the whole world. It looked like it just hit the United States, because at the end you saw a lot of Americans leaving the United States going. I do believe they was going to Mexico, and Mexico was untouched. So yeah, it was a disaster, all right. Next up, we got The Rival. The Rival to Armageddon. Let's talk about this one. Deep Impact. Deep Impact came out in 1998, the same year as, but I think it came out later in the year or even earlier in the year. I know they came out around the same time. It was within the year of each other. So you got Robert Duvall, Elijah Wood, and Morgan Freeman in this bad boy. Same thing with Armageddon. They got an experimental ship. It's going up to the big comet or whatever it is, asteroid comet, and they're going to take it out with nuclear ordnance. Now, in Armageddon, they was going to land on it and drill to a certain depth, drop the nukes to blow it up from the inside. I think here they was going to find a weak point and fire into it. I think that's what they was going to do. I don't think they was going to land on it. But this movie was so different from Armageddon. A lot of people just say Armageddon was better. Now, it was the better movie. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to be disingenuous about it. Armageddon was a better movie from the cast perspective and the production value. Not to say that this had a bad cast or poor production value. Just Armageddon was better. It was a Michael Bay movie, so you know you're going to get great production there. This one showed, to me, more of the human side. This showed more of the human toll that was being taken from this thing coming to destroy the planet. In Armageddon, it didn't really show a lot of the human side of what the people was going through down on the planet. So they're both really good in their own way. This was good from a story perspective. I love the way they told the story of what the people down on Earth was going through, like Elijah Wood and his girlfriend and her family, and how the mother and father, sacrificed themselves to save the kids, and how the daughter and her father reconciled at the end, and they both died on the beach in a fatherly and daughterly embrace. This was really, really good. It was just different from Armageddon, just like Wyatt Earp and Tombstone. I'm using that because they are great movies to compare and contrast. Great movie. Again, Armageddon got it because of just the wow factor with it, but this was a good movie too. And depending on how much story you want from it, this could be better. If you're looking at it from strictly a story's perspective, this is the better movie. This is better than Armageddon far as the story go. But far as that Hollywood putting butts in seats, Armageddon got that. This is a banger though. That was a little bit long. Next up, we got 2011's Contagion. You got Gwyneth Paltrow. Look at the cast in here. Kate Winslet, Gwyneth Paltrow, Jude Law, Lawrence Fishburne, Matt Damon, Marion Cotillard. Great movie. This reminds me of C-19 all day. You had in the beginning, they didn't show it, but they showed it at the end, when they was recapping how it started. They did it at the very end. You had the bat. It looked like it was a bat over top of a pig's trough, and something got into the pig's trough. I'm not sure if it was bat waste or something, but whatever it was that dropped from the bat went into the pig's trough. The pig ate it. The pig was butchered, and it was like a high-end casino. Casinos got the really nice kitchens. And the chef came out to shake somebody's hand, but he didn't wash his hands, nasty bastard. And he had pig blood all over his hands. I mean, he wiped them off, but he didn't really wash those hands. He went out there and shook Gwyneth Paltrow's hand, and it was on from there. It just spread like wildfire. Fantastic movie. And this is a disaster movie, because if something like that ever was to happen, as aggressive as this strand of whatever the hell it was, because it was dropping them quick. Next up, we have 1995's Outbreak, starred Dustin Hoffman, Rene Russo, Kevin Spacey, Cuba Gooding Jr. This was Donald Sutherland. This movie right here was banging. This was good. I still think Contagion was just as good as this, maybe a little bit better. Just maybe a little bit better. I don't know. This was good too, though. Again, so you got another virus, a really aggressive virus, super aggressive. And how this one started, it started from like a little monkey, and it bit a guy, stole a monkey. The monkey bit him. I do believe the monkey bit him, and he was sick in a movie theater. And he started coughing and carrying on, and everybody in the movie theater probably got that virus, and it spread throughout the whole town. The military quarantined the whole town off, and if they didn't find a cure, even though if they didn't find a cure, they was going to go ahead and nuke the town. You got to watch this one. They ended up finding the cure, but they didn't want not Dustin Hoffman, Donald Sutherland character. He was like a general, and he was behind something, and he didn't want that to get out, so he was going to destroy the town. But Dustin Hoffman stood in the way and wouldn't let him do it, and then Morgan Freeman took his side too. Great movie. You'll love this one. Again, that's a disaster movie too. And next up, one of the overlooked, unloved disaster movies. Probably just the way people look this movie over and don't talk about this movie in comparison to like Armageddon and Deep Impact is almost criminal. Is almost criminal to me, because The Core is a fantastic disaster movie. It's so original. As far as Deep Impact and Armageddon go, those are original, but they very similar. So whichever one came first was the original one. The other one is imitation, but this is totally original. Drilling down to the core of the Earth, dropping precisely placed nuclear ordinances to restart the Earth's core. Crazy. I like the concept. Then the experimental ship that they used to get down to the center of the Earth. I mean, the lasers that they used. Delroy Lindo's character was amazing. All the characters was really good in this movie, even though it didn't have the star power of Armageddon. And I think that's what separates Armageddon from this and Deep Impact, the star power. I mean, that star power, you can't argue that star power. But again, all of these movies got decent star power. I mean, this one, you got Hilary Swank, Aaron Eckhart, Delroy Lindo. I mean, you can't compare that star power to Armageddon, but this was still a fantastic movie, and it was very original. As far as originality go, this is better than Deep Impact and Armageddon, for real. So, that's 10 disaster movies. I hope you like this list. Again, in the comment section, let me know if you would have threw in a couple of zombie movies, because I would have, but I don't know how you guys would have took it. I think you guys would have took it well. You're not really a finicky group. That's why I like entertaining y'all. Let me know in the comment section what you think.